He got some crayons and he started to draw. He put colors all over the paper, for colors was what he saw. The teacher said, "What you doing, young man?" "I'm painting flowers, see?" "Well, this is not the time for art, young man. And anyway, flowers are green and red. There's a time for everything, young man. A way things should be done. You got to show concern for everyone else. You're not the only one." She said, "Flowers are red, green leaves are green. There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen." But the little boy said,
"There are so many colors in the rainbow, so many colors in the morning sun, so many colors in the and I see everyone."
Hey, it's Sunday. It's Green Thumbs Up Day. Yep. I'm Rabia Carvalho and you're tuned into Green Thumbs Up. We're the gardening and natural living show that you didn't know you needed. And you know what it's like. We're that show where everybody is an expert. Nobody has all the answers, but together we grow. So let's go, let's grow. If you're joining us on 90.4 FM or 105.6 in Pietermaritzburg, welcome and assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. How has your week been? It's wonderful to be with you in studio again. I really look forward to these Sunday mornings with you. And I have to say, hasn't the weather been absolutely beautiful? Subhanallah, the weather has been just something else. We've had rain and I was listening to Buddy's show, Buddy Govinder's show just before this, and he was talking about, the weather warnings coming up. And it's so true what he said, that we never really kind of know what's going to happen, but we always think we know what's going to happen. And if you think you know what's going to happen in today's show, you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong, because we have a very interesting show lined up for you today. But first, let us make salam to our sound engineer that's in studio with me, Asfad Fili. Brother, salam alaikum. How are you? I'm good, alhamdulillah. How was your week? Tiring? Well, isn't it wonderful that today's Sunday and you get to just breathe this evening? Oh, it's Sunday, but you have to work. But we're so grateful that you have to work, because you're here with us to help us on this amazing show with all our amazing listeners that are at home. It's so great to be with you today, folks. So if you want to call in, you know our number's 0861904904. But if you would like to WhatsApp us your questions, your comments, your hello, how's it? You're welcome. It's 060-904-1056. I've got a little question for Asfat this morning. Why did the gardener break up with their soil?
I have no idea.
Because it was a real drain.
Soil and relationships just don't.
Soil and relationships don't mix. Well, I think you'll find that today's exactly about that how everything really does intermix. Folks at home, that this is that show where everyone's an expert. Nobody has all the answers, right? But today we're talking to someone that has some answers that we didn't even know we needed. And that's in terms of soil research. So today's show is centered around that. And later on, we're going to be talking about exactly what happens when those boom. You know what I'm talking about? Kaboom. Year end, fireworks. Yes, fireworks are going to be blasting all around us. What does it actually do to nature? And for that, we're going to talk to somebody in animal rescue. But this morning, I was absolutely gobsmacked this week when I had a meeting with a dear friend of mine who introduced me to a fascinating gentleman who actually really, I have to tell you a little bit more about him so that you understand who we are talking about. Now, Dr. Everton Flemings is the person joining us this morning. He's our guest. He's the biographer of Wilderness of Thoughts, which is an immersive manuscript into the advocacy of human spiritual genomic relationships, and the natural ancestry of humanity. Interesting topic, non-religious, because he is non-religious, non-political, non-conformist, and he actually has an honorary bachelor's degree in business administration and management from the University of Wolverhampton School of Business in the UK. Just let me read you these. A higher national diploma in business finance, an MBA, and later on, Dr. Flemings went on to pursue a PhD in economics of public policy management. Now, for over 30 years, he has served the global business community as an accredited corporate strategic project management consultant with a clientele based in all 5 continents. Now, you kind of think sometimes, these folks that are interested in soil and interested in gardening, as gardeners, we must be these hippies, with, I don't know, so flower hat in hand. But no, gardening, growing food, growing medicine, these things actually are a science. And if I can tell you a little bit more about Dr. Flemings, he also practiced in the areas of foreign direct investment with the UK. That's the United Kingdom Trade and Investment, global business intelligence, strategic positioning and policy formulation and implementation. Then he served as chairman of a Hong Kong-based renewable energy group of companies, and he developed global development policies and frameworks for Chinese, Indian, and Australian energy firms. He established the Ethnic European Enterprise Network as business facilitation hub to Iraqi, Kurdish, African, Caribbean, and Eastern European businesses in the West Midlands, UK. Now, this is just the touch of it. He's also founder and current president of a Panamanian-based fiduciary holding company. He has several business interests, one of them being iValley Wellness Sanctuary, of course, and he is certainly into nutraceuticals. So, my goodness, with such a long list of accolades, isn't this just the person you would want to talk to you from a position of knowledge about soil research, and what that means at the end of the line to us receiving, whether it's the food or it's the medicine. Now, folks, we're really grateful to have Dr. Flemings on the show. He's currently in New York, and it's 2 a.m. there. So 2 a.m. is very, very early, and Dr. Flemings has made the time for us. So we welcome him to the show, and we thank him for the time. Good morning to you, Dr. Flemings. It's only just barely morning. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for making the time. You have so much wealth of experience and knowledge to share with us on so many different levels.
I know.
It's quite awesome. But I wanted to speak with you today because we had such an interesting conversation in the week with our dear friend Mamdudu, and she's just an amazing person. I'm so grateful she introduced me to you. You have so much information on soil and soil science.
Yes, of course. The research that I have conducted over the last 20 years has focused primarily on the development of living soil. And that's basically a gene expression within a soil microbial community, and how the introduction of such molecular biological methods to the soil biology affect the human genome structure.
Right.
Because earlier on in the research protocol, I examined why the interrelationship between plants and mankind is somewhat a natural process. And so I recognize from very early stage that this symbiotic relationship between its soil and the plant microbiotic and the human DNA structure, as much as they are interrelated, they have a very effective plant growth structure that promote medicinal properties of natural herbs and other medicinal plants for both external and internal consumption. So the focus of my research has really led to the development of new technologies that affect much of the pharmaceutical and the nutraceutical industries currently.
Well, I'm sure that the big pharma may see this as, we're not sure if we want this. But you said something so important. You said a word. You said two words, actually, living soil. We assume soil is living, but sometimes it becomes barren, right? Living soil. You've also mentioned the human genome structure. Could you break it down for us, for the listener at home on a Sunday morning that's kind of having trouble maybe with the big words? Just break it down, simplify it for us a little.
Let's just talk a little bit about the living soil.
Yes.
Living soil is basically very organic material that we find all around us in our homes, in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And this soil naturally is not contaminated at all with any type of chemical structure. And so that soil in itself is curative. It is a soil that has its microbial community. Otherwise, the bacteria and fungi that makes up that soil structure is most important for human health. And so the development of a living soil structure is what a plant needs in order for that soil and the plant to be integral to affect the person or humans that is within that environment. Mm-hmm. And so whatever mineral is found within that soil structure, whether it is at the home or in the open field, it is a result of the relationship between the human and the soil, whether you're walking in the soil or whether you're actually eating products grown specifically in that soil.
Yeah, so we are what we eat, and the plant is what it feeds on, and that hence the importance of the soil. And you mentioned the microbes, and I'm always talking about gut health and the importance of maintaining the microbial health in our gut as well. You know, the balance of good bacteria. But, you know, some people sometimes assume, you know, there's us and then there's the earth. Not everybody is a gardener, but they don't often understand what you've just explained so beautifully, and that is the relationship between human wellness and soil wellness.
I want to touch a little bit, Rabia, around the soil structure, that if you're not a gardener, you're not a farmer, how do you benefit from soil?
Oh, please.
And one of the easiest thing I always tell patients is the fact that because the soil carries a negative electrical charge on its surface, when our bodies have a direct contact with it, we are brought to the same electrical potential of the soil. And so the natural rhythms of the soil is intertwined with the aspect of our health as humans. And so people who experience anxiety, emotional stress, panic, fear, headaches, dizziness, all this sort of aggression in terms of their medicinal makeup, they can be grounded by just simply walking on the soil. So when in direct contact with the ground, walking, sitting, or lying down on the soil surface, the soil's electrons are conducted to the human body, bringing it to that same electrical potential. And so with that direct relationship, even the skin epidermis from products that is used, that is grown specifically from the soil itself, balance the skin, balance the human genome structure. It actually allows the cell structure of the human to be revigorated, rebalanced, realigned, and grow again.
And that's interesting because you're not just talking about, you know, having a supplement that's a good quality. You're talking about having, you know, a relationship with soil that we understand that helps our physical bodies, our mental bodies, our energetic bodies. And, you know, as a holistic healer, I always talk about energy healing, and folks will say energy healing isn't, they think it's something weird, but it's not. We are an electrical system, and grounding, earthing, which you've just described, is such an important thing. I do it every single morning. Just stand outside first thing in the morning, looking into the sun so that the sunlight hits my retina, and the feet on the ground. Now, tell us, what are some of the research findings in terms of perhaps geographical area and what the people of that area need? Is there any relation, or is we're just trying to improve soil throughout?
Because what we eat determines our balance, our gut-brain axis, our emotional, physiological, and structure makeup. And because we are electromagnetic beings that frequency a particular vibration, it is important that we recognize that from a geographical standpoint, we are, of course, what we eat in those areas. And so part of the research findings is relation to the different types of ailments. And I'd say ailments are not diseases, because people suffer from various types of ailments, whether it is lifestyle or hereditary. And so lifestyle or hereditary ailments is really basically down to the soil structure that actually the person or agent lives in. And so we recognize that people who come from the Caribbean, Latin American region, by the time they get to 60, 70 years old, they start suffering from particular ailments such as diabetes.
Yes.
The same sort of people in that age group living in Germany, at that age group, they're suffering from Alzheimer. Why is it that they are not suffering from the same, even at that age group?
Yes.
The real feeling is about the soil structure that they grew in, that they live in, that became part of their anatomy, that became part of the gene expression from the soil itself. Because the soil can be good and it can be bad, but you've got to equate yourself with that soil. And that's the potential that the frontline therapy around soil management has to do with people living in various parts of the world.
You've raised a really fascinating point. Same age people, same kind of lifestyle, but different geography, different ailments, presenting differently.
Yes.
Now, I know, Dr. Flemings, you're also the founder and president of a nutraceutical company, as well as a member of the International
Yes.
Standards Organization, working group for the standard bodies of Canada. And, when you're looking at different countries, would you say then that there is credit in saying, for instance, if you're wanting the best roses, go to Romania? Or could you grow the best roses wherever, and then from there extract rose water and rosy oil and things like that, just by focusing on the soil?
Yes, it is basically that. You did mention a point where there are industrial players that may not be happy with this method, but of course we must look towards what we believe as humans that makes it better for who we are and where we are. My research really focused around the different parts of the world that I've visited and see how our own human relationship work. And of course, if there is an ailment for someone in South Africa, and that solution to that ailment is basically a frontline therapy that is recognized in Canada or in the United States, of course, the transfer of that knowledge and experience through a competent technological accessing the enormous soil data from that area is good enough for that person or that patient. And so using the technology of the soil structure within the area in which the person lives, it is good enough. So it's not a matter of that person has to move to that geographical area to be healed.
Right.
Because technology and the genomic data can be transferred and presented. We are now moving into a new form of plant-based science structure with this advanced knowledge through our science blockchain platform, where our nutraceutical product line, which is under new development, is beginning to enable the photodynamic therapy that comes directly from the soil itself. And this contributes a relationship to the ailment itself by combining light therapy, photobiology, and biosignature patterns, meaning that we can now stay in one particular country to access and govern the type of ailment a person has based upon the soil in which they live, using various medicinal and supplement through what you call a signal of a surge in the active metabolism of that person in relation to the result that we expect to get based upon the soil structure the person lives in.
Fantastic. So you're looking at a signal emitted by the person that you can match with a signal to the soil. Am I right?
Yes, exactly what it is. Because the production of a small molecular antenna of the size of nanotechnology from the soil itself, because we would have already isolated soil mRNA, and we kind of know what the gene expression of the patient in that country is, then we are able to bring that processing technique in a way that it is a conduction of the nano-sized molecular structure that become part of the approach to a light therapy signaling. And this is exactly the new form, I would say, of biotechnology program coming directly from the soil to patient research that has been done over these years.
That's amazing. To be able to combine all of these things, to be able to combine, the electrical impulses between us and soil, between, the microbes, the biomes, the signals from one to the other. It's fascinating. We do have to take a little ad break, Dr. Flemings. Please don't go away. We're going to come straight back and continue the conversation with you. And perhaps you can give our folks at home just a basic tip, perhaps to start with soil improvement. So we'll be right back after this break.
Radio Al-Ansar.
As promised at last year's Durban Summer Cirque, part of our profits will go to making a real difference in our community. The Al-Ansar Foundation proudly completed its first borehole for the community of Redcliffe. With water shortages affecting many, our mission is clear. Let's bring clean water to more areas in need. Join us in making an impact. Call Outreach on 031 208 1601 or visit alansar.org.za to help build more boreholes and transform lives.
Iqra wafham. Read and understand the Holy Quran. Your program giving you the most powerful manual for life. It's the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Last Testament. The ayahs are recited, translated and explained for us to understand by various learned scholars of Islam. Comes to you every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Fridays at 10:30 p.m. Iqra wafham. Read and understand.
You are number one.
The Culinarium offers the best selection for this season's gifts, like the DeLonghi Scolpito kettle and toaster at 4,000 Rand, or the DeLonghi Stellosa espresso machine, ideal for making authentic specialty drinks. Latte, cappuccino, and espresso at 2,699. Best price in town. The Culinarium, turning your house into a home. Visit us online at www.theculinarium.co.za for greater deals.
Bawas, where shopping is fun, and you are number one.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365.
You're back with Green Thumbs Up, and I'm Rabia Carvalho, and we are talking soil science, stuff that is really the stuff of science fiction. If you were to think of healing 1,000 years from now, we are probably breaking ground on those kinds of sciences that will be used to heal. And perhaps, you know, big pharma being what it is, and you all know my stance around big pharma. Medicine is great to have, but we simply must have a natural approach, kind of a combined approach. So on the line, we are talking to Dr. Flemings, who is honestly one of the most interesting people I've ever met. We're talking about soil and soil science. And so welcome back, Dr. Flemings. Thank you for staying with us. I know it's so early there. I say again, for the listeners who've just joined us, it's 2 a.m. in New York. So again, thank you, Dr. Flemings. Now, we're talking about the soil, and it's such a simplistic question, like what can we do at home in order to improve our soil? It sounds almost like a silly question, but I believe the only silly question is the one we don't ask, because you're talking about soil science. It's almost nanotechnology you're talking about, but how do we bring it home base for us at home in small ways?
Yes, the very small ways, first and foremost, is for everyone to become the creator of your own life. A person needs to elevate their own consciousness, because healing isn't just for the times of pain or strife. It is something that can be done to create that feeling of peace, relaxation, and well-being every day. And so we all possess that power to be our own healer. And so we need to tune in to that energy to unlock our own abilities, because we are aware of ourselves. And so when we look around our homes, we recognize the very simplistic things that make life worth enjoying.
Yes.
And therefore, the connection that we as humans have with the soil is not just physical. It is also balancing our spiritual growth, which it actually review in a subtle way the energies of our bodies, that kind of meridian system that we become familiar with when we enjoy our bodies.
Yes.
Our body begin to organize itself in such a healing manner, because we begin to sort of create that energy healing therapy around ourselves that revolves around nature itself. So it's about restoring a normal energy balance with the earth, because the body itself, as we all know, has a very intricate energy system. And if we allow that optimal improvement to resonate deeply and connect to our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, then we are restoring balance. So in a very simplistic way, we have the power and the ability to address our own illnesses, restore our own health and vibrance, and support our whole self.
Yes. And with nature, which we are a part of, and this, separation between ourselves and nature. I think sometimes technology comes along and says, separate us from nature around us. And also we've got, laboratories creating chemicals, a kind of little quick fire bullets to treat a symptom, but doesn't really connect us with ideal health and holistic health. So I absolutely love what you're saying. Now, I wanted to ask you a quick question in terms of nutraceuticals. What for you is a nutraceutical versus, for instance, a supplement?
For us, nutraceutical is a very, very natural process product that is actually grown organically, 100% naturally produced, with no forms of additives, chemicals, anything at all. That's very, very nutraceutical. And nutraceutical is a actual relationship product with the body itself, the natural environment of the body. So you're looking into, there is nothing else that is added to your life. You go out, you can become a natural gifted person in a river, at your home, wherever you are, and the natural products that you take and you enjoy, that is what you call nutraceutical, without any form of processing at all. So you grow your herbs at home, you process your herbs at home, and you enjoy your herbs at home without any form of other processes.
That is absolutely where it is at. It's wonderful. That's exactly what we're needing. And I'm really looking forward to speaking with you as your work continues to develop and to see where we go in South Africa with this, because I know that you are very actively helping. It's global. The work that you're doing is global. So thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us this morning. I think that's all that we have time for at the moment with you. But I look forward to having you back on further down the line as developments continue. I wish you well.
Definitely. Definitely. I look forward, and thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful Sunday and get some rest.
Yes, goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. So, folks, that was it from Dr. Flemings. How fascinating is that? And I did ask him a question that I don't think we actually had time to deal with, but I'll give you the answer because I chatted to him this week. And if you remember, a long time ago on this show, yes, we had the cannabis show. This is not about cannabis, talking about hemp. We spoke about hemp many, many moons ago, and I spoke about how hemp restores the biome of the soil. So if you have soil that is completely barren, hemp grows in almost barren soil. But what it does is it restores the biome of the soil. Now, think of our health. Think of our gut health. And if you follow me on the socials, Life Coach Rabia, you'll know I talk about gut health being the foundation of mental and physical health, because that, for various reasons, our hormones are balanced, our mood is balanced, our digestion, our hydration, and so the cellular oxygen, all of this, it works together if our gut health is good, if our gut health is excellent. So it's very important for us to consider that our soil needs to be revised and revamped. And hemp is one of the things that does just that, because just as our gut has all these different microbes, as we heard from Dr. Flemings, so does soil. And I know that he'd said, hemp is the renovator, the renewer. Hemp removes toxins from soil, the way that we would take activated charcoal, for instance, to take out poisons and some heavy metals. Or if you've had the vax and you're trying to cleanse your system of it, then activated charcoal is one of the things you could take. The other, of course, is blue methylene. We'll talk about that on another show. But it's just fascinating for me, the things that we can do if we were to grow hemp for just a season, for just a year. If you're going in and you don't know your soil is really great quality or not, grow some hemp, because you can get hemp seeds pretty much everywhere, anywhere. Hemp is not psychoactive at all. And in fact, it's from hemp that a lot of our CBD is available. You can get bird seed with hemp. You can get hemp porridge, and it's literally the little hemp hearts, which are the seeds of the hemp flowers. So here's some old hacks for gardening that you won't believe will actually help you with the soil in your home. Some of these are natural, some of these are not. But if you've planted your hemp, that is the one thing that you should do. And then you can, plant hemp in an area and the next season grow something else there. But beating a lemon tree more precisely, it's something that my grandmother taught my father. My father taught me, if you got a lemon tree and it doesn't bear fruit, give it a little bit of a hiding. Yes, you're beating the trunk of the tree. It's true. I've got Brother Feely here looking at me quizzically like, what? You for real? Yeah, I'm for real. Spare the rod and you spoil the lemon tree. Because if your lemon tree has got no flowers, you don't support plant abuse. But you're not abusing the plant. You're actually knocking the air bubbles out of it. It's abuse. No, smack the trunk only if your tree isn't bearing fruit for years, and you only need to do it once. Okay, you don't go around beating your trees, folks. Cinnamon, it's an antifungal, it's an antibacterial, it's great for orchids. Burying fish in the yard is an excellent one as well. Fish heads, you buy fish, you take the fish head, you throw it in the bin. Don't throw it in the bin, put it into the soil. You can even wrap it in paper and then bury it in the soil. It makes amazing nutrients. Then we're talking about tomatoes. This time of the year, everybody's growing tomatoes, and you're kind of wanting your tomatoes to hold that fruit and grow that fruit. Here's what you do. Ideally, you do this when you plant the tomatoes, but you can still do it now. You know, Tums, it's like Rennies. Yeah, they're actually calcium-based, magnesium-based. You take those, dissolve them, put them into the soil for your tomatoes. For slugs, we've spoken about slugs, keeping slugs away with beer, no alcohol required. So we're talking about 0 alcohol beer, or we are talking about water, yeast, and sugar that is going to ferment, but you're not going to give it enough time to ferment because you're going to put it in a little bowl in your garden. And so lots of different gardening tips, but to improve your soil, that hemp, those eggshells, those banana skins, bury them, dry them, powder them, soak them, turn them into tea, use them. And this is the perfect time of year to grow stuff. It's also the perfect time of year to be aware of our surroundings, as we're going to be talking to our next guest very, very shortly. And we've only got a few minutes, but we really want to talk about what's coming up in this silly season, because just as soil is important, so is air. And so is air in the sense of the cleanliness. And cleanliness doesn't just mean air pollution with chemicals and smells and smokes and dust, but air pollution also includes sound pollution. You know what I'm getting at? If you think about this silly season and you think about sound and you think about boom, you know what I'm on about. It's fireworks. So what is the impact around us? We always think, if you've got a dog, you've got a cat, this poor animal is, and they're going to be completely devastated every year around this time. It's terrible. So be sure that if you haven't got your calming tablets for your doggos and for your kitty catses, there are things that you can give them that are natural, like Rescue Remedy and things like that. They do actually work for animals, but better than us telling you is someone telling us who knows the things. And that person who knows the things about the animals is, of course, Sue Ann Shute, and she is an assistant at Animal Rescue, and she's actually with Crow. And I've asked her to join us this morning. She has accepted. I want to talk a little bit about what actually happens to us, what happens to animals, and which animals are affected by all of these fireworks that we're going to get going on at this time of the year. So let's welcome Sue Ann. Good morning, Sue Ann. Thank you for joining us on the show. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I think it's so important to sensitize communities at this time of year, because people get into this kind of tradition of fireworks. And I'm going, how about a tradition of kindness? Because fireworks are not necessarily kind.
No, they're not at all.
So what are you seeing around this time of the year? Like, I'm always shocked to see people just...
So this time of the year, obviously, it's our breeding season for our wildlife.
Yes.
So we get a lot of young wild animals that come through to the center. They've obviously been caught by cats, hit by cars, dogs, and they end up with problems like that. But then obviously, with this being the crazy season in the sense of fireworks time, they also get really, really scared and end up flying into things. And then they abandon their babies as well. This is a big problem that we have when it comes to the fireworks.
So you've got birds abandoning their babies. Is that because they don't know where they are, or?
They don't know where they are. They literally, can you imagine being a bird sitting on its nest, and then suddenly it's dark. So now they know it's time to sleep. And then suddenly it just lights up the whole area where you're sleeping, lights up. And then you've got the sphere smell, you've got the smell of fire, the sulfur coming off those fireworks. that parent bird doesn't know what to do, so they literally abandon those babies. They fly and they just keep on flying because now there's fireworks all over. So they just keep on flying and they actually get disorientated. So a lot of the adults will end up flying into windows, they'll fly into wire fencing, and then the babies get left behind. Obviously, because now they're obviously on nests, so they get left behind, and the little ones actually get really hungry, looking for mom and dad to feed them, and then they fall out the nest because now they're just so hungry, looking for the parent bird. And then they get picked up and brought in by members of public.
Oh my goodness. And then you have to try to restore them. And I know you mentioned that this was the time of year when you're set to release animals, but you're not doing that just now, right?
No, we're not doing that just now. We wait till obviously after the fireworks season dies off, and then we look at safe release sites for all animals. We don't release them in the urban area because of the fact of the fireworks, so they're more in private game reserves that we take them to release them.
Okay. And that's not even the little critters that we're not even taking account for, because no one will bring a bee in, for instance, but bees are so badly affected by fireworks.
No, of course.
You know,
they're very badly affected.
They stop moving because of the sound, and that can really be bad for them. Even 20 minutes, apparently, they can just stop moving. And then, of course, there's the chemicals. So if you're thinking your bees, these are your pollinators, folks, the pollinators that we need at the time when our food is growing. And here you've got some Joe Bob down the corner of the road, up the road, like throwing bombs. And you know, for these little animals, it must sound like a complete war that's going on. Now, what kind of damaging effects? So we're looking at disorientation. They're flying in, so they're going to get hurt, they're going to get caught, they're going to get trapped in things. Then you've got dogs also going crazy, and would they perhaps then lash out at animals that they see moving? You know,
I'm sure they would. I mean, it's a natural thing. They are prey animals, so I mean, they will prey on whatever's around them.
Yeah.
So if there's a bird on the ground, and even though the dog is petrified, they are going to end up grabbing at whatever's around them. And if there's a member of public that's around them, they will do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, what alternatives are there to these big bangs? Are all fireworks bad? Because, I mean, they've all got chemicals, but are all bad? Are some worse than others? What do we tell people?
You know, honestly, from our stance point, all fireworks are bad, okay? But then there's the little sparklers that you use at your birthday parties and stuff like that. Those are controlled. You can actually, you know, you're holding them, they get put out, that's fine. And it's not going to make massive noise. But, you know, people say that we can have controlled areas where we let off fireworks. That's just as bad, because the birds and the animals and the wildlife surrounding that area still hear it.
Yes.
You know, so it still affects them. On Crow's stance point and on our stance point, we don't encourage fireworks.
Yes. I don't either. Completely don't. I'll be honest, many years ago, before I moved to Durban, in fact, when I moved to Durban the first year that we were here, I thought, you know, it might be interesting to do some fireworks. Nature lover me. And I got these little things that you put on the ground, and they just go up and they do this little shower. But even that, I had my dogs around, and I watched them, and I thought, no. After one or two went off, I said, this is not good for my animals, so this is not going to be good for anybody else's animals. So I am a reformed, although just once offender, completely reformed. I shall not participate. And that also includes not going to watch, because if you're going to go and watch a fireworks display, you are supporting and endorsing what is happening to the animals that suffer from this. And that's my soapbox moment. I don't know if you agree, Sue, but for me, that's the way it is.
100% agree, 100%.
Yeah.
I've got a dog, she's partially blind. So when the fireworks sort of go off, her and I are wrapped up in bed, sleeping. We will not go outside. I do not, you know, because of her sight, it just makes it 10 times worse with the big bangs on her ears.
Yes.
So Yeah, I don't even go down that lane. I don't even look outside the window.
And some tips for folks who are at home and the fireworks are going off. Things can fall down in your yard. So don't go and stand outside, because there has been more than a few instances where fireworks, they go up, they got to come down again. And sometimes they don't fully kind of explode. And so you've got things falling down and hurting humans as well. But some tips for keeping pets safe during the fireworks seasons.
You're keeping your pets safe, keeping them indoors.
Mm-hmm.
You can put your music on, put your TV on. Sitting with your pets, you can get some medication from the vets, which will help just alleviate a lot of the stress.
Yes.
But generally, being at home with them, don't go out and party.
Yes.
Stay with your animals, because they're going to be fearful.
Yes.
Even if you put the radio on, the TV on, and go out for your New Year's party, those animals are still left alone. They don't have that security. We as humans are their security.
Yeah.
So they need us there.
They need to feel that we are around. And it doesn't really help to, if all you can do is put them in an enclosure, then that's fine. But, if you can have them near you, if there's an area that, you can be safe and they can be safe. Also to keep them, I think, contained, because sometimes what happens with the fear is dogs jump over walls, cats jump over walls, household pet birds fly away. So make sure that they are contained, because also in jumping over fences, they can get hurt, right? They can run out into the street and get hit by cars.
They've also been known to jump through people's windows, just out of absolute fear. That's why I say, if possible, always be with your animals, so don't go to those parties, rather be with the animals.
Yeah, it's one day, really, that means the world to that one animal,
Yes.
Yeah. So, gosh, Sue-Ann, I don't envy your job at this time of year. It must be really difficult. If people come across animals that are stressed or, having difficulties, wildlife, what can they do?
If they do come across any animal that's in a bit of a predicament or distraught, they're more than welcome to contact us at Crow, and we will be able to assist. We'll be able to advise. If necessary, we will come out and do a rescue. But a lot of the times, it's more a situation where we ask the public to help us. Just example, pick up a bird and bring it into the centre so that we can actually feed to the animals. Because obviously, being a non-profit organisation, we don't have the funds to run out to 7 or 8 or even 20 different rescues in one day.
Right.
So we ask public to help us.
Yeah. So, folks, there you have it. Sue-Ann, thank you so much for being with us this morning on the show. We must raise that awareness, and we must say, folks, fireworks are red flags. Don't light them. Don't watch them. It literally, you're looking at destruction. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at something that is a means of destruction for animals and wildlife and nature around us. So if you consider yourself someone who loves nature, loves people, loves animals, or at the very least is kind to them, stay away from them. That's my soapbox moment. We don't need them. Fireworks, go away. And there are legislations, but they don't care. They just make them bigger and louder every year, it seems. So, Sue, thank you so much. Any closing remarks from you?
No, if everybody would just like to know that Crow has been around for 44 years. We're a non-profit organisation. So we deal with all Indigenous wildlife, from your tiny little mouse, and believe it or not, I've even had little snails being brought into us, all the way up to a rhino we will look after and rehabilitate and get back out into the wild. We do not believe any animal should be kept in a cage.
No.
So all animals are released back to the wild.
Well, there you have it, Sue. Thank you so much. And I know I brought in a dwarf chameleon one year who sadly didn't make it. But there we go, folks. Sue-Ann, thank you very much for joining us on the show. In terms of next week, I hope that you're going to join us for the show, folks. You're listening at home. We didn't get around to Nature's Apothecary, so I'm just going to give you one herb to de-stress, and that is lemon balm or Melissa. Make yourself a cup of tea and put it in the dog's water as well, because it's just great for them also to stay calm and de-stress at this time. If you're working, may you continue to be productive until the last stretch. If you're not stretching, if you're not working, then we wish you a very, very peaceful holiday time. But holiday time is Suki Suk time. It is time for the Suk, 24th of December to the 5th of January. Be there or be square. And from me, Rabia Carvalho, from our sound engineer, Brother Feely, remember today is a beautiful day to be happy. Until next week, we say Assalamu alaikum
Warahmatullahi
wa barakatuh.
Need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen. But the little boy said,
there are so many colors in the rainbow, so many colors in the morning sun, so many colors in the